What's up, everybody? Shauna D Man here, and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are having yourselves a great day. We are back with our episode 2 review of It. Welcome to Derry, and we're gonna pick up right where we left off. I had forgot that this was coming out on, or episode 2 was coming out on Halloween, so I actually kind of missed that, and I just watched it yesterday, episode 2, and then episode 3 and just go on and go forth will be like in the following weeks. So one of the things about episode 1 towards the end was obviously we know what happened. Phil, Teddy, Susan, Lily, and Ronnie all at the movie theater get attacked by the giant demon baby. And one of the things was like, I don't know, was this real or was this a dream? Beginning of episode 2, you're basically seeing things from Lily's perspective. So you're kind of just going through everything that we saw, kind of like what's our like above view perspective of everything. And then she wakes up, and again, one of the things I thought was like, was this a dream? Did this actually happen? Yes, it actually happened. These kids are actually dead. Whatever that thing, whatever it was, it you know killed them. I was just like, oh man, they were pretty bold with that, because I was not, because again, especially with Phil and Teddy, made it seem like they were going to be um part of the series, like they're going to be like main characters part of the series. That is not the case, and well, needless to say, that is definitely that. So episode 2, so far episode 1 was more of just setting the pieces and stuff like that, because there's a lot of characters going on. Obviously you have Lily, Ronnie, and them. You have the whole military aspect going on as well. And we learned a few things also. So let's start with Major Hanlon and that whole thing. So in episode 1, he was attacked. Come to find out, dude, it was all planned by the leading officer of the facility. Basically because it sounds like, I forgot what they called it, but he basically has no fear. And so in order to, and they were waiting for somebody like this, or he was looking for somebody like this, because he talks about how he basically mentions the Cuban Missile Crisis, where Russia is planning on putting missiles in Cuba. Obviously that's a shout full of the United States, and they're trying to find a weapon that can cause so much fear that they heard about, that it can make a person want to like off themselves, just because of the pure fear. And if they can find this weapon, they can use this weapon and stop a war before it even starts. So that's where Major Handling came in. Because one of the things was, Masters, who, clearly did not like him, or really not a big fan of, people of color or whatever. And he it was all just a setup, to test Hanlon. And obviously he said he passed, and we learned more about what's his name, Mike Hanlon, I believe his name was Hanlon. um he apparently has like a gift of, or something like that, of trying to find what they're looking for. And then also too, we see that there are potentially like, Native Americans who are watching over things. Now there was, at the end of episode 1, what's coming to Derry and all that kind of stuff. That's one of the things, is like they're basically the ones who are keeping Pennywise it in place. They're the ones keeping it locked up. So that's that aspect. We have obviously, really the main focus is where I want to pay more attention to, and that's Ronnie and Lily, because obviously those are the survivors. They were questioning about what happened and everything. The police are trying to pin it on Ronnie's dad, but they don't have any evidence, and he has an alibi to it. But it seems that Lily did not really tell him what she saw, but she did say, I did not see him there. And, mainly because she doesn't want to end up back in Juniper Hill, which is an asylum, probably after the incident that happened with her dad being killed. She was locked away there. And she gets it, she kind of gets it turned on her because the police chief basically is like, you know, I did not see Mr. Grogan. I believe that's Ronnie's dad's name. I did not see Mr. Grogan there, and then you see him start to kind of like play on her fear and things like that. You know what? How about we send you to Juniper Hill just to make sure, get you checked out, and then that way nobody can deny that you're not crazy or anything like that, and you can tell it's really bothering her. And then he's just like, well, actually, let's try one more thing. I won't ask you if he was there. I'll ask you, are you basically 100% positive that he wasn't there? And so he essentially like tricked her, played on her fear, which ultimately, messed her up. Basically, giving the ammunition needed to go and arrest Ronnie's dad. And then Ronnie goes over to Lily's house, and very confrontational, and it is just a mess. And there's some other things going on too with characters. You have the wife and Will, who just moved into the neighborhood. Um, the wife. There's mentions of why they moved. Getting a brick thrown through the house, that kind of stuff. There was mentions on why they moved. They Will is very smart. He's like, he's reading a 100 things about scientific facts or something like that. So he's a very smart kid. He makes a new friend. What was his name? I forgot his friend's name. But the guy. He was like a kid that had a crush on Marge. I do not like Marge. She. Oh man, she's making me mad. She's making me mad. I don't even like her. She sucks. Even the bullies are kind of suck too. But yeah, and so there's like different sequences. Again, like this show is very grotesque, and I kind of like that. I think the kid actress and actresses are fine. They're doing. I think they're really good. The one that does Lily is really really good. I enjoy her character. But there's two different parts. There's like one where Ronnie, because she's overhearing her dad and grandmother talk, and they're trying to blame this on you, why, and more playing it to the more racial side of things. Obviously, this was set during a time of, racial tension and stuff like that. So, it plays off well here. But there's a moment with Ronnie where she goes into a nightmare state, and it's disgusting. It's like she gets trapped underneath her blanket, but it turns into like her exiting her mother's uh it's like a pregnancy. She burst out of her mom, and her mom blames her for her death and everything. She talks about how your daddy's gonna fry and stuff like that, and it is just gross and horrifying. And man, and then Lily, she has a moment where she goes to the store, does some shopping for her mom because her mom's working a double shift, and it's just as she's going through the store, like a lot of these customers, or customers, are all like creeping on her and like having the creepy smile and everything. And throughout her walking through the store, you're just hearing like, you're crazy. What else was it? You're crazy. Um, you need to go back to Juniper Hill and all this stuff. And then she has her own little sequence where like she gets like trapped on all sides and like on this pickle aisle, and you see like the face of her, who is to be her dad, inside a pickle jar, and it's just like so gross. And um but like she gets out of it, but unfortunately the incident causes her to be sent to Juniper Hill, back to the asylum where she was. I'm trying to see if there was anything else in particular that happened in this episode. There's a weird thing too, not a weird thing, but the mom, Will's mom, she's out shopping and things like that, and she sees like these bullies beating up on this kid, and like nobody stepped in to stop him or anything like that. And then what was his name? Stern, the deli guy was just like, boys will be boys and that kind of thing. And so I'm trying to see if there was like anything else in particular that happened um in the episode. I mean, that's basically the gist of it. But I mean, overall, the first two episodes have been relatively. I've liked them. Like, you know, you could definitely say there's a lot with the multiple storylines that are like present in these first two episodes, but obviously they're all gonna lead somewhere at a certain point. And then at the ending, they find at one of the dig sites that we saw earlier in the episode, they find like a vehicle which seems to have a bunch of bodies in it. So I am curious on about that, on what that's gonna look like. But I mean, overall, I've really liked these first two episodes. They have been very, very good. They're very, very gory, grotesque. Visually, like the town of Derry looks good. I talked about it in the first episode where like the clothing, everything just looks so good. I love the look of when Lily goes into the grocery store. You see all these old like 50ish style like grocery store items and stuff like that. Mr. Bubble, was it fizzy soda pop or something like that? And I thought that was really cool. And like they put in a lot of effort and things like that. So I thought that was very, very cool. But overall, really like the first episodes. Very excited to see what the rest of the series looks like. If you are new to the channel, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Be sure you comment below. But that is everything for my episode 2 review of Welcome to Derry. Check out the channel, like I said, for any other content. I have links down to my other places as well, such as my gaming channel, Kick, Rumble, and Twitch. So definitely go and check those out as well. But guys, thank you again for hanging out. Thank you again for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video. Y'all have a good one.